You are listening to Three Kitchens Podcast, hosted by Aaron Walker and Heather Dyer.
We're home cooks sharing our adventures with you. Let's all get inspired, cook better, and just eat great food.
Thank you for trying out the food. I'm so glad that it went well for you, honestly.
Oh, we loved it.
So good.
So happy.
Hello and welcome to Three Kitchens Podcast. My name is Erin Walker and I am joined by my co-host Heather Dyer.
Good morning.
Good morning. And today we have a guest with us. Her name is Renu Bhardwaj. And Renu Bhardwaj is a UK-based author and food blogger whose new book, Celebrate Diwali, Recipes, Activities, and Crafts for the Entire Family, was just published in August. And it includes crafts, celebration tips, and of course, recipes. Welcome, Renu.
Thank you for having me on your podcast today.
Well, we're really happy to have you. You're our first guest of this season. And this just worked out so well that we're launching our new season in October, which is the month of Diwali.
It sure is.
So easy decision on this one. We definitely want to talk about it. And we are big fans of Indian food in general. And really look forward to learning a bit more about making it at home. So this is great.
Amazing. I love it. I am opening season. I love that statement. But no, thank you for having me. And I love the fact that it's really nice to have this year that my book's available in America and Canada. Last year it was UK. And at the same time, I was thinking, why can't it just be available at the same time for everybody? But it's actually nice to kind of stage that and appreciate it all over again. So it's lovely to be here.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it must be so nice to enjoy it more this time instead of, I'm sure, the stress and the anxiety around that first time and now being a little bit more comfortable with where it's going, right?
Yeah, it is. It's lovely. It is really nice. And I'm grateful that I get like a second chance, a second round at it. So I'm really grateful at that.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a bit about how you learned to cook. Many of us learn to cook from our family members, but you know, there may be people who learn to cook from a book like yours. How did you learn?
Exactly what you've just said, Heather. I've learned from my mum. I think growing up in an Indian household, everything's always centered around food. So my mum was a great host. I've come from a family with lots of siblings. So we're always we have designated jobs, with unspoken but designated jobs growing up.
Okay.
One person would do this. And I feel now my important role was so important. It's geared me up to the person I am today. So you want to know what job that was? That was condiments and sides. I am sorry, but that is one of the most important parts of that. And also being the chief tester for my mom. So she'd make food.
Lucky.
Yes, yeah. I would test it and go, no, Mom, I think you need this. I think you need that. And I would be the one that would do the sides. So like with Indian food, you have not just one chutney, you have a few. You have pickles, you have chutney, you have pickled onions, you'll have a salad, you'll have raita because you need a cooling dip. And then you'd have all the sides, set the table. And I would do all of that. So it was really, really important. My sister would be the washing up. My other sister would do the prep. It's different stages that you take. So growing up being like that with my mom and really being into food. And also Indian street food is the best street food ever. It's got such a nice taste. It's hot, spicy, sour. It's got all of the different taste buds that you do need. I'm salivating as we speak. And then I think as my mum would do a lot of hosting, we'd then go to a lot of family members and eat and enjoy. And I think growing up in that environment, it made a huge difference. And it's kind of continued on as I've gotten older. I have got married, I've moved cities, and then also being with a family of my in-laws who also enjoy food. So it's taken on a different family and a different way of eating and taken on their traditions. And I think that's where my food journey has never stopped and I've just constantly evolved.
I like this idea too of giving jobs because sometimes we struggle as parents to figure out how to teach our kids to cook or how to bring them into the kitchen when it can be either they're small and you worry about the stove or or knives or whatever it might be, or you're just not sure where to bring them in. I like this idea of a job, and maybe if their attention span is short, helping with the prep and then off you go is a great way to start. And then helping, maybe you're helping stirring at the stove And then when that's done, you're done. Like I kind of
Yeah.
like this idea of splitting it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
I think as a lot of like people growing up in a South Asian family, I think mums have that sheer control over the spoon. So I can't remember doing a lot of stirring, but I actually
Okay.
remember doing a lot of tasting. But now it's great because as I've gotten older, she's like, she's like stepped to the side and let me cook and doing things like that when I'm home. But it's still my home comforts when I do go home. I let her cook. I let her spoil me. I let myself be in that position where, because it's an open kitchen, where she's just feeding me straight from
Oh.
like a cooker top, and it's just amazing. And I think you never change from that role of the mum daughter, the mum child role, and letting your mum then cook for you. It's just the nicest feeling. And then I saw that when my mum, also when we visited India, my mum slipped into that role of somebody elder cooking for her when my granny was alive then, and my mum like switched into that role as well. So it was really nice to see. It's just like this unspoken thing where you just sit there at the table waiting for your food, and it's lovely, and I do it, and I see my children do it, and it is nice, and it is really, really important. And I'm glad that my mum took me on that journey of food, because the palettes that we have, or we have, like when I speak with my siblings, they're very different but also very similar, because I would also then be that person. So if my brother does listen to this, I was always like, he'd always say, I love the way you style your plate, because we'd have multiple items of food. He'd say, can you just make me a plate just like you? So I would just give him my plate, and then I'd make my own. And I think we eat with our eyes, so that's also been really, really important. And we don't forget that Indian food's colourful. We eat with our eyes. There's lots of different options to have, because even on an everyday day, because growing up, my mum would cook so much food, and I was like, who's coming? And she was like, no, this is just for us. There's so many different elements of food, but if you ever did just stop by, it's like that, there's always enough food for everybody. And my mum would just whip that up. And again, that's something that we've learned as well. So it was like, why have we made so much food? Oh, it's okay. So should anybody pop by, should anybody need to come in? And there were times where people would just knock on the door, and then my mum would just feed them. They'd just be at the table, and before I know it, I'm serving and hosting them. And it was just that thing that would happen. It doesn't obviously happen as much now, just because people are busy in their families, and lifestyle has changed significantly. And I love that, and I really appreciate having that learning growing up.
It seems so magical as a child when it's like all of a sudden all this food is spread out in front of you, and you have that love and that appreciation and
Yes.
and all those wonderful feelings. That's fantastic. So what were some of your favorite recipes that your mom would make?
My mum is a really good cook, so all of her food, like just growing up, has always been amazing. Like from starting off where a weekend would be like more of a slow day, we'd have like Indian brunch, a paratha, different flavor ones. We'd have that, multiple cups of teas like throughout the day. And then should somebody come over, my mum would then start frying samosas or pakoras, because that's what I'd associate with, like, if you're having just like, like a duvet day, a pajama day, you just eat food, and it's all comfort food that you would have. So my aunt would say, why don't you come over here? We're having pakoras. We've just made a batch. And it doesn't matter where they would live. We would just go over and we just eat. And I just remember we were just doing a lot of eating on the weekends. Whereas now, I wouldn't have that. I wouldn't really have that with my family. It's always, times have changed. When I speak to my mom, it's like, you don't slow down. Everything's constant. And it's true. It's one thing to another, and I don't do that. I don't have those leisurely things. Like, don't get me wrong, I do have like an Indian brunch with my family here now and then, and it's a real treat, and I really enjoy it. But those big lavish meals that once we used to have as an ordinary Sunday, they've now turned more of an occasional thing. So
Right.
a few things throughout the year that we'll have, and Diwali for me is one of them, where I'd have the indulgent fried food, where we would have something really important and plan the meal. Sometimes Diwali falls on a weekday. Now I plan it, and it's when it's on a weekend. I was like, oh, brilliant! We'll come, we can enjoy it and celebrate it and eat this and plan the meals. Whereas unfortunately, when it's on a weekday, I'm like, all right, I need to come in from work. I need to do half my prep the night before, blah blah blah, and it just takes that time away. Whereas when I'm speaking about it, it's like, God, I do miss the olden days, of enjoying this food all the time.
Do you ever say Diwali's on a Monday? Do you say we're going to celebrate on Sunday? Everybody come over on Sunday, or does it need to be on the day?
It has to be on the day. You could then do like follow up where people will do, I've been to, like, we're having a Diwali party, so they know people would automatically enjoy a family meal, like family time with their family, but then it could be the following week where they'll plan something. It's always done afterward as well.
Okay.
Any other of the other occasions is either done on the day or not at all. But I have seen like them pre-parties where if it's a community, then they'll do it afterwards.
Okay.
Okay, so now while we're on the topic, can you tell our listeners who maybe aren't familiar with Diwali what it's all about?
Yeah, sure. So the book is about Celebrate Diwali, and Diwali is done and celebrated as a one-day event. That we celebrate Diwali, but leading up to it, as I was also writing the book, I also learned that it's more of like a 5-day event leading up to Diwali, and it's never been explained to me like that. That leading up, there's 5 different events, and there's 5 different ways that you're going on to the main event. We probably do 2 or 3 without even realizing. And also, it's so important to say this kind of resonates with everybody. You don't have to be like Hindu, Indian to celebrate Diwali. I feel as if like saying this statement of festival of light and celebrating good over bad, good over evil, I think that kind of resonates with everybody. And I think it's one of those festives that everybody loves to celebrate, because at the end of it, we're celebrating it with light, which is candles or little diyas, which we call little tea light as candles. And it is, and the fairy tale within the book shows like 2 gods. There's a Rama and Sita, and when I explained it as how you would explain it to children, it's actually a lovely little fairy tale of, Rama saves his wife from the demon, and he would, come and save his wife who he took away into like the forest for so many years, and he came and saved his wife. And what the villagers did in order to help him find his path home, they lit the path with little candles and little diyas on the way home. So that's why we celebrate the fact that he celebrated and escaped with his wife. And then the Festival of Light is, first of all, celebrating that. Second of all is the path that led them home was lit up. So obviously that's where it comes from, Festival of Light. And when I write that, it's so much better for children just to say it's a fairy tale, it's lovely. And I think it just resonates with everybody. Ultimately, how I explain it to everybody is it is good over bad. And that's what I think everybody needs currently around the world.
Absolutely.
Yes. I mean, we can all use that, like you said.
Totally. And I think one thing I loved and one thing I learned over last year was there were so many people not necessarily being celebrated Indian. So whether they're South Asian, whether they're Hindu, whether they celebrated Diwali or not, so many people bought my book for that reason as well, because they said, oh, we want to understand Diwali, we really want to appreciate it. And I feel for me, Diwali is very much a forgotten celebration. When I went into my children's school and I took a big box, like a celebration box of chocolates, this is for this week, and I just saw the teacher's face going, oh my God, well, what have we missed? It's not a birthday, it's not this, it's not that, it's before Christmas, it's not Halloween. Oh, she was like, oh, what have we missed? I said, it's Diwali. She was like, oh God, I'm so sorry, we didn't realize. And at that point I thought, yep, I know. And she goes, we didn't realize it's Diwali, we'll get that covered within the children. She went back into the cupboard and dusted off that like yellowy brown book that we used to have at school, and she explained Diwali to the children at nursery. So when my daughter Aria came home, she was like, guess what, mommy? Guess what we learned today? I said, please enlighten me. We learned about Diwali. I said, did you? Now tell me about it. She told me everything. They made like Diwali crafts. And I was like, there you go. If you didn't remind somebody, they wouldn't have known. So I sometimes do feel it's quite a forgotten festive, which is a shame.
It's so nice to know what its significance is and to be able to share in the celebration of it wherever you come from, right? That makes it feel just so nice, just good things. Celebrating that light, like you say, that goodness.
I agree. And when I was writing this book, I'm just flicking through it just now, when I was writing through it and I was going through and I was like, there's 5 days leading up to Diwali. How did my mum not teach me this, like day 1 and day 2? But when I explain this with the people, I think it's a lovely way to celebrate any festivities. Like the first thing is you cleanse your house, you're cleaning your house to welcome Lakshmi, which is one of our gods that brings prosperity and luck. So who doesn't want that? You don't have to be Hindu to get that. Do a deep clean first, and then once you've done a deep clean, we're bringing in, like Marie Kondo, you're bringing in joy, out with the old, in with the new. So when I just read that, I thought that's really can resonate with a lot of people. You know, we know how to celebrate Diwali, we know how many days and leading up to it and what you need to do. And it's true, we celebrate by first doing a cleanse and then doing all the little things. And I thought it's a really great way to know about Diwali, to celebrate it, and then whether they're away from their parents, so if their parents are in India and they've moved away, or may not have parents anymore, or they're starting their own traditions with their family. How do they do that? How do we go on? And there's no wrong or right, which is what I love for Diwali. There's no wrong or right. Every family has a different tradition. There's a different way of doing it. And that's what I love. And I think that's why I wanted to bring this book together, because every family will differ to another. And that's why I wanted to make this book, to bring it to people's attention, to say, okay, because like there's a part of the book which we do is how to perform a puja for Diwali, because it's always done as an elder person within the family. But then I thought, well, how do I do that? Maybe I need to write it down. So when I wrote that in my book, I also will refer back to that, just to say, how do you perform a puja, which is setting up the religious part of Diwali. And I just really wanted to include that in, because you can just flick through it and go, oh, actually, that's a good idea. You might not be traditional to your family, but at least there's a little guide on what to do.
Yeah. And I really like that you include crafts. I think it's a great way of bringing everybody together. So maybe the family member who's not so much into helping with the food,
Yes,
but really likes to get in there and do something creative. I think and they're so beautiful, and just they look so fun and festive.
Yeah, I agree. And I think people find it hard to do crafts unless you have all the items at home. And I think those kind of crafts become really hard and expensive. So I've done different crafts for different ages. So you can go as easy as you want to. And like one of my favorite ones that I actually did last year with my daughter was like to make your own garlands, which is really easy and lovely to do. And you've made it once, you can just reuse them every year. And also the sustainable lanterns, which you can then gift them as well to friends and family. But also you could just use them again for Christmas and have them around.
So fun. Aaron and I are going to try to find a day where we can get together and do some crafts for Diwali, because it looks so fun. I don't think I've ever done.
And I think everything bright, everything lovely. And like the salt dough candle holders, again, that's really, really easy, inexpensive to do. So I just like the crafts that I can see myself doing with my daughter. But then if you don't want to make anything hard, you've got the Diwali lanterns, which are really, really easy as well.
I just like the process of crafting, whether it doesn't have to be complicated, because it's so much about just taking the time. Like you say, we're busy. We're not living the way that you did, how you grew up. And so being able to slow down, have an activity, because it's always easier to connect over, moving fingers and doing something together, and that sense of accomplishment that you get together and that bonding you get, and to celebrate. I like that your book is bringing all of those things together. It's not just the food, it's not just the rituals, but it's all these things together, right?
Yeah, totally. It's bringing joy, and I think it's what you want to get out of it. And then I just wanted to also include some edible gifts, because I also think in life, I think the edible gifts is such an important thing to make, because it's depending if you've obviously got the ingredients, and everything can be costly for some people. So why not make it with love? And people always love a homemade gift as well.
Absolutely. Hey listeners, thanks so much for tuning in to this interview with Renu Bhardwaj. Join us in learning all about Diwali by picking up her book, Celebrate Diwali. You can order it off of Amazon or check your local bookstore. I know I found a copy at mine here in my hometown. As always, you can find the links in our show notes. Now, for what we're cooking.
Okay, so we should talk about some food.
Yes.
Which is always our favorite part of any celebration. So we asked you to choose a recipe for us to make from your book. And so can you tell our listeners what you chose and why you chose it?
So I believe I suggested one of my favorite meals to make was Chole bhature, which is the spicy chickpeas, and make that with the Indian Punjabi bread, which is like the only way I describe it is like a fried dough bread, which is just delicious. What a lot of people will probably look at the consistency like of a pizza dough, because it's just really soft and bready and delicious.
So I made the chickpeas, And
Nice.
Erin made the bread.
Yes.
And then we did a little trade. And
Yes.
just before you joined us on the call, Erin was still enjoying some of that for breakfast.
Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. Please, I want to know more. I want to just, I'm going to stop talking and I want to hear the verdict and how it tasted.
Okay, well, the chickpeas, this is to someone who clearly, if you're watching this or know of us, is not an Indian person. This is what I think of quite, I guess, generally as an approachable Indian dish that I can make. Because when you look at the list of ingredients, sometimes that's what feels intimidating about Indian cooking. You think, oh my gosh, there's so many things. This doesn't look simple. It looks complicated just because of the sheer number of spices and things.
Yes.
But if you just go through and prepare all your things, measure out your spices, get everything chopped that you need to chop, get everything ready so that as you read through the recipe, it's just simply adding,
Yes.
right? Like you're
Yes.
simmering and then you're letting it sit. The one thing that I thought was very interesting about this is the tea. I don't know that I've come across a recipe like this that had tea in it.
Yes. So this is one that's interpreted from, I've taken on, not from my mum, but actually from my family that I married into, like, so my mother-in-law. And I've also seen a few restaurants online do that as well. And it basically brings the dark richness of the color and it brings like an
Okay.
earthy taste.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also skip it because, again, not every household will have that. My mum would never have that, but I quite liked that earthy taste. This is more of a slow process of taste because you need something that's cozy, warming, bit of a sauce to dip with that bread.
Erin, I like the way that you described it when we were chatting earlier. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, like this is like when you say cozy and warm, like that's exactly what this food, how this makes you feel. And I was saying that, we've had a few recipes that are Indian based and they just not necessarily spicy, but the spices that are in there, they just warm your whole body. And I feel like they make your tongue feel just tingly and
Yeah.
it's like my whole mouth is happy for a while. Like I'm still sitting enjoying it because I ate it just now. And it's
Totally.
just such a comforting sensation and just eating that food it just all comes together in such a wonderful way. It hugs you.
Oh, it makes me so happy to hear that because it's also when you're writing a recipe, because I make it without thinking, a bit like my mum would.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people who have been cooking for a long time, you can make recipes with your eyes closed. So it's really nice to hear. And we judge it by the list of ingredients, the length of the process. But once you know how to make that chickpea curry, I think it's one of those things that you can just adopt to your own. So not everybody might not be able to find, like, pomegranate powder might not be readily available, but you can, substitute it for something else. But then you can also opt without it because it still will taste amazing. Maybe you can put some tamarind chutney in, or there's so many adaptations that you can do, which I love. And I'm so glad that you said that it gave you all those fuzzy, cozy feelings. That's what this dish does to me. It's one of my favorite. It's one that I eat on Diwali. It's one that when I go to India, it's the first thing I do to go and eat and enjoy because it's just a traditional, delicious dish. So I'm really keen to see how you got on with the bhatura, which is the bread, which can take, even myself, takes some time to make. One batch of mine is never the same as another batch that I'll make. So I'm really keen to see how the bread came out for you.
The bread, I've never made a fried bread like this before. So I was pretty excited and a little bit nervous on how this was going to go. And frying food isn't something for sure in my house that we commonly do.
It's not an everyday food. It's not an everyday gadget we would try. So I wouldn't have it. That's why I think it becomes a lovely rare occasion food. That's why you end up enjoying it more as well.
Yeah. And it was really, really tasty and incredibly easy to make, I found, because I'm never sure what to expect when I'm frying something. I'm afraid there's going to be a big mess, but because it's a dough and I think it's less wet,
Yes.
it's not spattering. It's not making a huge mess.
No.
I didn't get the puffiness that I think we wanted to get from this.
Yeah, that takes time. I think that's an art of frying, and it's hard to put into words because my mum's
Okay.
fries instantly, and sometimes if you've not, it's like a weird thing with the oil. You've got to kind of, the other way to describe it is like, you know how sometimes when people make a fried egg and they splatter a bit of oil on top to get that bit of a film, you've got to do this with the bread where you, even though it's frying, if you kind of do, I'm going to give the actions whether people
Okay.
are listening or not, you're just getting a spatula and you just kind of pushing it over, and also sometimes pressing it at the same time to give it the rise. It's really weird without doing a
Okay.
full-on demonstration, but the
Mm.
first one is always the hardest to make just because I think it's testing the temperature of the oil. Then the
Okay.
second, third, and fourth should come out faster and should come out puffier.
I didn't get that puffiness until the very last one. There
That's
was a little bit
exactly.
of puff in the first one.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
much puffier in
yeah,
that last one.
yeah.
And I actually kept, like, I strained and kept my oil because I want to do this again. Because
Yes,
just doing it once, I realized, like you're saying, it's something you need to do again and again. You have to go through
totally.
this process to figure it out
Yeah,
and get those little techniques and those little things that you're looking for that you don't know you're looking for. And
yeah.
so I was like, I know I'm going to want to make this again because when I talk to you,
Yeah,
you're going to give me
honestly,
that tip.
it makes me so happy. And in terms of when you just pull that apart, it's just this, even though you've deep fried it, it's
Mm,
still quite light, which I
yeah.
don't ever get, but it's so moreish. That's all I can say. You just want to eat more.
Mm.
It's a great word.
It's such a
Moorish. Yeah.
it's such a comfy bread
Oh,
too.
it's
Like you bite
delicious.
into it and there's that crisp, but there's the softness, and simple carbs are my best friends.
Honestly, it's the best thing that's come out from Punjab, Indian Punjabis. It's the best thing that dish is a very Punjabi dish. So it's the best thing ever. Like I remember having that when I was younger, and I was like, God, shut the front door. This is my favorite food to eat. And then you have it in India as a street food, and it
Mm.
is just delicious. My mouth is salivating talking about this. And then we're going to have this on Diwali because again, it now becomes a treat, a bit like you said, Erin, where we don't have a fryer, we don't have that all the time. So when we do have it, people obviously time conscious because yeah, to make this, it will take like a bit of a process. People do love carbs, and I think when we associate food, it's an emotion. So when you're having bread dipped into warm, cozy, spicy, like what
Mm.
else can you want in life? And I just think that's what's so, it's just so important, isn't it? And my children love it. They love that too. So it makes me happy that they love this as much as I do.
Well, and our
Yeah.
families loved it too.
I'm so happy to hear
Yeah,
that.
my kids took the last of it in their lunch
Mhm.
with some rice and chickpeas
Oh,
and
did
split the
they?
last piece of bread
I
and they took it
know.
in their lunch to school.
Oh, that makes me
Mhm.
so happy. And it's so nice that, learning about different food and traditions of food, and they've taken it in the lunchbox, so it's just completely different to what they're normally used to. And embracing that makes me so happy.
Yeah, we loved it.
And really, even though it's a different process, it did not take that long
Yeah.
to cook this. Like you say, you prep the dough beforehand, you let it sit. That's almost like, as a home cook, my favorite thing, when I can like start on something and then do something else, and then that thing's, sitting,
Yeah.
resting, doing what it needs to. And
Yeah.
then when you come back to frying it, I think I had these all fried in like 45 minutes,
That is
which
amazing.
is no time at all.
That is amazing. We love multitasking, don't we? We love a good
Yeah.
multitask and feel so good once we're able to
Yeah.
get two, three jobs out at the same time. And this is one of them. This is one of them. And it's just so good. And I think like at the end where we all say it takes ages to prep and food and stuff and minutes to demolish it. But it's so nice to know that you've still got, I feel chickpeas
Mm.
making all of this as well. I feel like it's such a good dish that you never goes down in the pan. Everyone's having bowlfuls and then you go back to it and you go, yes, we've got leftovers for tomorrow. And it just makes you happy.
Mhm.
Well, it's quite a big recipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Erin and I split those chickpeas in half, that recipe, and she was still eating it today, and we made it on the weekend, and like
Mhm.
I love
just,
that.
yeah, it goes far.
It's a recipe that keeps on giving. And I think maybe in our portion size, I did do it like as a family size. But the good thing about like Indian food like this, when you cook fresh, you can freeze it. You can put a
Mhm.
batch in, put it in the freezer, and you can come back to it in 2 weeks, reserve that with some chapatis, naan. You could serve it with rice, and it's just so good. And it still tastes fresh and delicious. Beans are so good as well, full of protein. It's healthy, and it's just a really nice dish because traditionally, we've always like grown up on pulses and beans and vegetables, and I just love that. So I would still enjoy eating that food and enjoying it that way. So the fact that this is a really nice, easy dish, and you know it's full of goodness, I think it also makes you feel that fuzzy and warm inside as well.
Mm-hmm. And once you have the ingredients in your pantry,
Totally.
it's inexpensive, you
Yeah.
know, a cup, like to buy the beans,
Yeah.
the peas,
Yeah.
and then you can just whip it together. And
I
as you
agree.
said, when you kind of gain a little confidence as you play around, you
Yeah.
get comfortable with how the recipe works. You can
Yeah.
substitute things or leave things out or add something different. I love that. That's my kind of cooking because I
Yeah.
like to just
Totally. I agree.
whip it up.
I like that flexible cooking, making food that way because you know we not everyone has time to do step by step, and like one day if I make that dish, next time I make it will be different, and that's okay. You know,
Mhm.
we just learn from our dishes, and because of the time lifestyle that we all lead, you know, time is of the essence. Whether we meal prep, whether we make it on the day, I just think anything goes, and that's what I think. Easy recipes is key. People just need to have something that they can follow.
Okay, so what would you say are your top tips for beginners who would like to try making Indian food and maybe are a little intimidated? I think you've given us a few along the way here, but do you have any top tips you would say to get going with?
I think you covered it. I think preparation is key. Even from, you know, like I was doing something yesterday cooking. If you just measure and prep everything beforehand, I think it makes life easy. Depending on which recipe you have, some recipes involve a quick bang, 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 bang in, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
if you're not prepared, you're then stressing about the heat level in the pan. And then
Yeah.
that's where everyone, I think that's the point where everybody gets frazzled.
Yes.
And I think a lot of South Asian families have little spice tins which have all the spices in one place, which has always helped.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, just to have everything prepared. Give yourself some time, and like you said, just be confident with it. And that confidence comes with experience and time. If you've made a mistake, there's always a way to rectify it. I would probably start with a simple, easy dal because I think dal is something that you can make, you can get on well with. But I think recipes like that, you can boil the dal whilst you're waiting for it to cook, and you can start on something else, which is like the tadka, which is the spices and the seasoning. So I just think having that ready makes a huge difference as well. But that's one of my easy ones that I always love making. It's also a comfort food for me. But other things I think I've included in here is like my Bombay potatoes. Who doesn't love carbs? I know I'm talking about a lot of carbs here, but potatoes and bread, it's just such a easy recipe to come home to. So the Bombay potatoes are really nice, or masala potatoes, whichever where we know it. And it's just really easy to make and enjoy. And it's something for the whole family as well. If you don't like spice, then admit that. If you know want to add something else in, you can, you know, where people are on the fence of coriander, we call it coriander, you call it cilantro, whether people don't like that, leave that out. But yeah, I think there's so many easy dishes that you can start with and then just build your way up. And just love, and just I think people get so scared that just puts them off completely. My idea, just try it. You can only get better.
Yeah.
As well, within the cost crisis that most people around the world are in, I think it's such a friendly, easy budget recipes that you can make as well. Like a packet of lentils goes so far.
Yeah. Cooking with
Yep.
with pulses and like the recipe you shared with us, it's so cost effective and you're getting all that good stuff,
It
right?
really is. Really is. And I think recipes as well, you know, you're bringing the family together. Like you said earlier, even if someone chops, somebody could mix, someone sets the table, someone helps. And I think presenting, you know, like I said to you earlier, we eat with our eyes. So when you have colorful food, it makes a difference. So you've got a lovely, deep, dark red, rich curry, you know, alongside a bright salad or some yogurt. It just makes a huge difference. And I think we all eat with a colorful palette, and it's
Yeah.
just really flexible. I think it's just really good flexible cooking, and that's what we want in this day and age. That's what we want.
Yeah, it's not too rigid.
Totally.
Yes.
Like if you do not follow it to the letter, it will not turn out. No, you can do it your own way. I love that.
Exactly.
And I like this idea of having the tester in the kitchen because if you're cooking for kids and you're introducing something new to them, and I mean, we all know how
Yes.
judgmental our children can be of our
Yeah.
cooking. Bringing them
Yeah.
into the kitchen and being like, how does this taste? What does it need? And
Yes.
and getting their opinion in, I feel like that's how you're going to get them to the table trying and eating something new.
You know what? Our children are the biggest critics, aren't they? And then they're the ones that really see the food, and they are. So yeah, chief testers, such a big title, such a big responsibility, and I think it's so important. And I think that's like, if I'm as I'm talking about it now, that has really shifted and shaped my taste buds, you know, of trying food. My mum was really into experimenting with food and having food, which makes a huge difference too.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've all met people as adults who are like, oh, I've never eaten anything like this. And to us, it's like, what do you mean? What do you mean you've never tried this? You know? So
Yeah.
the earlier you can introduce different types of food to kids, the better.
I agree. I know I'm probably going on off a tangent here, but I was having a conversation, and it's just something that's really, really important. I was looking at some classes for my daughter to do some cooking. So it's great that I can teach her, but I just wanted her to learn the basics. Yeah, I couldn't find anything around cooking for children. You know, we've all got a different relationship with food, whether, you know, you're a beige child who doesn't eat food or you don't eat this. It's so important to connect those relationships now. And that's something that I'd love to focus on for workshops for children, because getting them involved, getting them part of the process, out of their comfort zone, and food that they're not, like I said, necessarily able to see. There's parents that are on budget, there's parents that are dealing with children who don't like anything else but beige food, but it makes such a difference as we're growing up, because when I see people and speak to people as we're cooking, that's where it stems from. We're creating relationships with our food. I think it's just really key to tap into that from a very, very young age. And there's so many things that we can do, and I find that fascinating. So that's something as a project that I would love to focus on and really get children involved in cooking.
Love it. Well, this has been really enjoyable, and your book is just gorgeous. Not just, as we can attest to, not just delicious recipes and fun crafts, but the book itself, the photos are beautiful. It's colorful.
Yeah.
It really seems to embody Diwali, which is, I mean, obviously that's what you were going for, and it's gorgeous. So we encourage anyone listening who wants to check out Renu's book, please go and find it. Can you tell everybody where they can get it?
So the book's available. You can get it on Amazon, and hopefully we'll put a link in below, and you can click on that link directly, which will take you to the book. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. We're happy to promote it. It looks fantastic, and really encourage everybody to celebrate Diwali, whether it's your first time or maybe if you've been celebrating it your whole life, you try something new. I think you've just given everybody some ideas and inspiration, and that's fantastic.
Thank you. I just wanted this book just to be a guide for people, like you say, creating new traditions with their family. So I hope everybody loves this book and has a really good Diwali this year as well. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us and our listeners. This has been wonderful.
And now for the fine print. For links to recipes and many other random things we talked about in this episode, check out the show notes or our website, www.threekitchenspodcast.com. Join us on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, YouTube, and TikTok to see what we're cooking up next. And if you love the show, tell a friend. Word of mouth is the #1 way people learn about new podcasts. Thanks for listening.
I'm salivating as we speak.